A life lesson from Rango. Now, the Rango I am speaking about is the movie featuring Johnny Depp as a small chameleon who gets lost in the middle of a desert. Now, if you've never seen that movie, I came upon it by accident. I can't remember where I saw, whether it was Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it was, but it was on one of those platforms. But if you do have a chance to watch it, I highly recommend you do watch it, because it's a really, really great movie. But in the movie, Johnny Depp, the little chameleon, he's travelling along in a car at the start of the movie, and he's living in a little bit of a fish tank, and he's kind of living in this kind of thespian world. He's living on his own, but he has this little, like a Barbie doll or whatever. He's always kind of practicing scenes from movies or kind of doing Shakespeare plays and all these different things. But what happens anyway, the car misses this animal on the road, and the fish tank that Johnny Depp is in gets tossed out. Now, the little chameleon ends up in the middle of the desert, hasn't got a clue where he is, and because he's lived such a sheltered life, for him to be out on his own now is totally freaking him out. But he finds out from this animal, I think it's an armadillo or something like that, he finds out that there is a town not too far away, and I think the town is called Dirt or something like that, so that'll probably give you an idea of what it is like. But like one of those kind of western movies, it's in the middle of nowhere, and he has to do a long travel through the desert, and at some stages he is nearly killed a couple of times, and by the time he reaches the small western town, he's totally exhausted, hasn't a clue who he is. Of course he's terrified because he's in a town of complete strangers, and he's trying to fit in. So at the start, when he actually goes into the town, he sees some of the cowboys with their kind of cowboy strut and their walks, and he starts copying a few of them to try and make himself kind of fit in with everybody else. But what happens is he comes to the saloon, and of course he's looking for a drink of water, but of course everybody's laughing at it because there is no water in the town. All there is this kind of weird whiskey or whatever. But as with most western movies, when somebody goes into the saloon, the music stops, the doors, everybody turns to the door as soon as the doors are opened, and he kind of nervously walks up to the bar, and he feels all the eyes following him across the room. So one of the locals anyway comes up to him and says, "Who are you?" Now, he's kind of holding his little glass of, I think it's like some kind of tequila or something like that. It sounds like it's disgusting, whatever it is. But he anyway looks in the mirror behind the bar, and he's kind of looking at the crowd behind him, because everybody's waiting for a response. Who is he? So he's thinking to himself, and again, with all his many years of kind of thespian acting knowledge and playing characters and all those different things, he says to himself, "Who am I? I could be anybody," he's thinking. So this kind of mental little conversation is going on in his head, and he's thinking, I could be anyone. Nobody here knows me, so I can play any role. So he takes, all of a sudden then you see his body language change and how he stands, and all of a sudden he takes on this demeanour of a kind of mean and nasty gunslinger that's come maybe from the west or whatever, but he's had a lot of adventures and nobody should mess with him. So he takes on this demeanour anyway for a while in the movie. But that little scene in the movie really stood out for me at the time, because when he's looking at the mirror and he's looking at the people in the the bar around him, when he says that point, "Who am I? I could be anyone," it made me think that anybody or everybody could say the same thing about themselves. Who are you? You could be anyone. Now, unfortunately, a lot of us, for whatever reasons, have maybe things in our lives, maybe things that happened to us where we were criticised by a teacher, maybe something happened in a relationship, or again, something maybe with a parent, maybe an unsupportive parent or whatever. And sometimes we take on that role, and sometimes even at very, very young ages. You may be in your 40s, you may be in your 50s or whatever, but you may have taken on a role from maybe since you're about 10 or 12, and you have picked up that role every day. You are the person who is useless at writing, because that English teacher said you were useless at writing. You are that person who maybe tried to start 3 or 4 different businesses and they all flopped. So you are the probably kind of laughing stock in the family. You're the one that kind of has all these kind of notions about herself or himself, but you've never ever been successful with it, and you might be the laughing stock of the family. And every day you are picking up that kind of role, you're putting it on and you're playing with it the next day. So what I want you to do is think for today, like Rango, as you get out of bed today, you could take on any role you want to take on. You could be that great writer. You could be that person who has a great blog. You could be, whatever you want to be. It's almost like a Disney thing. You can be whatever you want to be, princess. But what I mean is, you mightn't have the results right now, but you'll only get to those results by becoming that person you need to be to get there. If you wanted to drive a car, you'd need to learn how to drive a car, but you would need to take on the kind of mentality of someone who is a car driver, and because of that, then that'll help you along. So I want you to think about that today. Whatever you're doing, you could be anybody, because anybody doesn't know you. At the moment, I am playing this persona of somebody who is recording videos and that has a huge audience on YouTube, or that has a really, really popular blog. But I'm taking on those personas of someone who is a podcaster or whatever, because at the end of the day, you don't really know what I'm like in real life. You don't know what I'm like. You don't know maybe all the mistakes I've made in the past, all the goof ups, all the times I've been told that I'm a failure, or the things have gone wrong. You don't know any about that because you've never ever met me, and you're only meeting me through this medium. So if I was to take on this, persona of being a great podcaster, it would mean that I would show up in podcasts, I would show up in YouTube videos, or I would show up in content all over the web, because that's the persona I'm taking on. And you at the moment are probably limiting yourself because you are taking on, as I said, that persona from years ago. Sometimes crazily, it could be a persona you took on maybe at the age of 10, 12, 8 or whatever, but it could be from years and years ago. As I said, somebody criticised you, no support from family members or whatever, but there may be a moment in time that completely knocked you, and you are kind of still carrying that memory on your shoulders. Maybe it's time to just drop that on the ground now. Maybe it's time to have a look at another persona today, and like Rango, put it on, because at the end of the day, the majority of people in the world have never come in contact with you. They don't know you, and you could be anyone today. So keep that in mind today. It worked for Rango. Well, for most of the movies, he was found out in the end, but by that stage he actually did get the courage to be the person that he was playing the role to be. So again, if you want to watch the movie, I highly recommend you do watch it with the kids. It's a really, really great movie. So what role are you taking on today? What persona would you like to take on today? And maybe you might be as well just drop the other one for today, get into the new one and play that role for a while. I remember hearing about Cary Grant, and you mightn't know him now, but he was a big actor back in probably the 1930s, 40s and 50s. But he said that he played Cary Grant for so long that he actually became Cary Grant. He wasn't Cary Grant, the big movie star at the start. He played that role. So he was an actor playing the role of an actor, and over time he became to be one of the kind of most famous and probably one of the highest paid actors in the world at the time. But as he said, he played the role of Cary Grant, the actor, for so long. Even again, Cary Grant wasn't even his real name, it was a different name, I forget what it was, but he played that character for so long that he became Cary Grant. So you will find, as I said, when you do take on a persona, if you do it long enough like Cary Grant, you will take it on. You will become the great podcaster, the great YouTuber, the blogger, the writer, whatever it is you are looking to do. So think about that today. You can pick up that old, lifestyle, or that old kind of small thinking that's on the floor from yesterday, or you can put on a new set of clothes. You can be anyone you want to be, because at the end of the day, every day is a clean slate, and it's up to you to put on that slate whatever you want. So why put something on that was there the day before? Put something new on it. Try something new else and be a better person. So as always, I hope I maybe motivated you, hope inspired you maybe to be a little bit bigger than you've originally been, or helped you maybe take on a new role that you're probably thinking right now that's beyond you. I'm here to tell you that there is no role that's beyond you. Yes, it might be difficult in the start, but the more you do it, the easier it'll get. So if you're looking for more of this great content, you can probably subscribe to the YouTube channel, or you can subscribe to the WriteCome podcast, which would be lovely if you did, and I'll send all the next content to you. Or if you'd like to find more of the content on my website, go ahead over to WriteCome, WriteCome.com. And as always, have a great day, take care, and bye bye.